Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show set up for you. Yeah, we're going to talk all about Lunardi's bracketology, and also Calipari has survived the season. It looks like he's going to get in the tournament. We're going to talk all about what's going on with the NCAA basketball. This last weekend was pretty interesting. A lot of movement happened. Number one seeds, it looks like it's going to be Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston. Tennessee dropped down to number 2 seed with Michigan State, Texas Tech, and Alabama. And Kentucky moved up to a number 3 seed with Iowa State, Texas A&M, and St. John's. Here's your last 4 byes. Baylor, Arkansas. Arkansas won a really tight game. They had to have it. Utah State and Indiana. Last 4 in. San Diego State, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Xavier. And the last 4 that are not going to get in, they don't think, is Boise State, North Carolina, Texas, and Nebraska. Now, Auburn lost their last 2 ball games, but it really didn't matter. As you look here, they still finished 27-4. They won the SEC, and again, lost the last 2 ball games. Overtime against Alabama. Mr. Sears laid one in. And here's the thing about Auburn. Once Tennessee beat Alabama with that last second shot that Meshack made, Auburn won the SEC. They won everything, and they were locked in as a number 1 seed. So the last couple of games, they really didn't have anything to play for, and that's one of the tricky parts. You see this in the NFL all the time. A team wins their division, they get home field, they get everything squared away, and then they kind of tank the last couple of weeks. That's a little bit what happened here. Now, Auburn was playing Alabama the last game, so there's always stakes in that ball game because Auburn and Alabama are like this. They can't stand each other. But Auburn didn't have anything to play for, and Alabama did, other than a grudge match. So I think that's why Auburn kind of lowered their defenses and took a couple of L's that they wouldn't have taken. It's hard when you've won everything, but you still got a couple of ball games left. That's just very difficult. Tennessee was kind of in that situation. They couldn't win the SEC. They didn't have the number 1 spot locked up, but I think they lost the number 1 spot because Florida beat Alabama. And if you look at where Florida is, why they got the number 1 seed, Florida's 27-4, Tennessee is 25-6. And they split their games. Florida won 1 and Tennessee won 1. But there's 2 more losses for Tennessee than Florida. So when Florida beat Alabama in that last game, which was right here, 99-94, we kind of knew that was problematic. They came off that win against Texas A&M and then Alabama, and then they got the win, of course, against Ole Miss. As soon as they beat Alabama, my brother Junebug texted me. He's like, we've lost the number 1 seed. He said with them winning that game, they're going to have a much better record, 2 less losses, and that's a huge win. And he was right. I think even had we beaten Ole Miss, I don't think we'd have kept the number 1 seed because we'd have had 5 losses to their 4. And you can see that right here. They also were 2 games ahead of us in the SEC, but even if we'd have won that game, we still would have been 1 game behind them. So you kind of would have had to go with Florida. Here you see Texas A&M and Kentucky. They're obviously in. Missouri's in. Ole Miss is in. And then these teams with 20 wins, they're in. All 3 of these are in. And I definitely think Arkansas got in with these last 2 wins. And Tennessee is barely out at number 5. So we just missed a number 1 seed. Now let's take a look at how he's got it set up for the tournament, who will play who. Granted, this isn't done yet, but this is just an estimate by Lunardi. Looks like Auburn's going to be playing either Southern or Bucknell. Duke will be playing Quinnipiac. What? Or SIUE. I don't know who that is. San Diego Industrial University Exchange. I don't know. Houston will be playing Omaha. Alabama will be playing Robert Morris. Florida will be playing Norfolk State. Let's see. Kentucky will be playing Chattanooga. That'll be interesting. Tennessee will be playing South Alabama. Georgia will be playing BYU. So it should be pretty interesting. Now we've got the SEC tournament coming up and a lot of conference tournaments. And the hard part about the conference tournaments is they don't take that into consideration with seeding. So you really don't have anything to play for unless you need to win the conference to get in the tournament. If you're like, a team that's not very good and you're going to have like a Cinderella run in the conference tournament, which can happen because your top teams are probably going to go out early. If you'll remember the SEC last year, the top 3 teams went out in the first game they played because they didn't want to be there. And the reason being is because the SEC goes all the way to Sunday, and then you've got to turn around and travel and play in the NCAA tournament a few days later, and that's hard on a team. So a lot of the best teams will just kind of go out there and chuck a bunch of threes up. They're not trying to win. If everything goes in, yeah, they'll take the victory, but they're not going to sit there and grind it out with you. So the teams in the middle that are kind of like trying to get in have a lot better shot in the conference championships. They just don't have any meaning anymore. They don't.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
So anyway, there's a breakdown of your bracketology, and you have a good idea of who's number one, who's number two. And again, the SEC is going to get like 13 teams in, which is really fantastic. Then the Big 10, Big 12. ACC looks like they're going to have 3, which is sad. I don't know what's happened to ACC in basketball. It's got to be NIL. It's all it can be, because they used to dominate. And Calipari survives. He did what he normally does. He usually starts out really bad. He's done that for years and years, trying to get his team together. And then at the end of the season, normally he kind of gets it together. It's usually a little bit too late because they haven't had the time to really gel, but they do win some ball games because he's got so much talent. And you see right here, they won 4 of their last 5 ball games. They beat Missouri, Texas. They lost to South Carolina. I thought they were done after that. I mean, they got beat by the worst team in the conference. They were down 36 points with 6 minutes to go. So I figured they were just going to pack it in, but they won the last 2 games. They beat Vanderbilt and beat Mississippi State. And Mississippi State had a bunny shot to win that game. They were down 1 point. The guy went down, missed his shot. The state guy got the rebound, and all he's got to do is bank it off the board. And he hurried it because he didn't know how much time he had left, and it just bounced off. So Arkansas got in by the skin of their teeth, so to speak. But, hey, now he's in. You never know. His seeding's going to be rough, so it's going to be a very tough haul. He's going to have to play tough teams from day one. But I think he's going to get in. Just hanging on. You're just hanging on there, Calipari.
Sarah, reach up! Come on, honey! Use your other hand! Reach up! Reach up now!
This has been a rough season for him. I don't know how happy he is he left Kentucky, but they wanted him gone. I mean, they wanted him out of Kentucky, and they didn't have to pay. Kentucky's very lucky on that one. That could have cost him $20 million. Cost him zilch. But he's surviving. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, boom, bam. That button right there won't cost you a dime. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
And don't you worry, you're not going to be hassled anymore about your scholarship.
Sir?
No.
The scholarship?
Yes.
All the way up with a red-hot poker. I can play anywhere I want.